Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is What If Deku had Toji's Heavenly Restriction, and if you enjoy part 1, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I want to start off by saying that I appreciate the support on the videos, appreciate the support on the channel. Seems like you guys are liking the older content, so that's probably what I'm going to transition back into doing more of. I still will do Demon Slayer content, but it probably will be in more of a story-like format. It's a lot more fun for me, at least right now. And yeah, it just feels a little bit better where I'm at in this content making journey, I guess you could say. Now, with that said, I want to get right into the what if, because I have a lot to get into this one part, or part 1 of what if Deku had Toji's Heavenly Restriction. So let's get right into it. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya was born in a world filled of quirks. Quirks are more or less like superpowers that allow normal people to become something even greater than what they could possibly imagine. There's heroes like All Might, Endeavor, and some of the greatest heroes alive are all because of their quirks. And that's the main reason that they're so popular. It's quirks first, and then more or less popularity second. Now, there are a few heroes from time to time that come around that are popular based on just motive, attitude, or anything like that. But Izuku has been looking at these heroes in a way that he believes he can somehow be one of the greatest, even though he was born without one crucial thing, and that is a quirk. Now, all the doctors and everybody that actually evaluated Izuku would see that he doesn't have a quirk, but there's something different about Izuku. Not different in the fact of him being some sort of a prodigy or some sort of super genius or anything like that, but his genetic makeup and also his body's just functions seem to be a little bit different, as if it's telling that he has a quirk, but it's obvious that he doesn't. It's definitely odd, but it seems like his body is growing, or at least accelerating, at a somewhat faster rate than normal people, but this could be chalked up just to maybe him prematurely actually growing and being just a little bit bigger than most people around him. But what the other doctors aren't realizing is that this is Izuku's power to its core. As Izuku grows up, he is bullied by Bakugo and many others about not having a quirk. They basically tell him that he's useless, that he's a Deku, and that there is nothing he's going to be able to do to become the hero that he so wants to be. But Izuku still builds those morals, builds all of those great more or less personality, all that great personality of him wanting to be a hero, and he'll strive for it no matter what. So he begins putting in the work, actually training and actually working hard. I mean, he stays moderate, because as a young child or a young kid, you don't want to hurt yourself by training too much, but he does get into like various amounts of sports, starts working out, starts running, starts doing push-ups and stuff like that, and he gets stronger and stronger. And now here's the thing. Izuku starts getting stronger and stronger at a rapid rate that nobody would even understand. He would be extremely strong for a normal human being. Actually, to the extent that when people would try to bully him, he'd be able to fight back really easily. Even with someone like Bakugo, who has an explosion quirk, and a quirk that is extremely gifted, he's actually not able to hurt Izuku necessarily, because Izuku is able to react to it and even lift up the body weight of Bakugo and slam him on the ground pretty damn easily. Now, it's not like he's invincible or anything like that. If Bakugo lands an explosion on him, it's going to hurt. But it seems that Izuku's body strength and well-being are actually just way better than most of the kids his age. Even some of the kids start trying to do the training regimen that Izuku does. Maybe they can catch up, maybe they can actually be like Izuku or be somewhat strong like Izuku, but then they find out very quickly that his training regimen is so much greater than anything that they can really handle, and that their dividends are nowhere as good as him. he begins to like get extremely fit, extremely strong, and all of the above, and continues trying to work hard to strive to hopefully come into UA. But even with these things going on, he would not be able to get into UA. Even all the way up until he's a teenager, being around 14, 15 years old, Izuku would not even be close. He wouldn't be able to physically actually get into UA, and all of this time he's been trying to study up, train hard, and stuff like that has kind of gone to minor waste. Since this Izuku is actually more informed and actually tries to think and figure out what he's going to have to do to take down this UA entrance exam of some sorts, he actually learns of what normally they actually have the test be, being that of metal or steel robots. Now, to someone who has a quirk, this wouldn't be too difficult, but for Izuku, it's actually pretty hard, because Izuku doesn't have the strength to punch through robots of that caliber. He even tries to like punch through stuff like, you know, like refrigerators and stuff like that, stuff that is pretty sturdy, but he doesn't even get close. And this would worry Izuku. I mean, he's been training so hard, but how is he going to even overcome this? Well, Izuku tries to even utilize weaponry, maybe some sort of sword or blade or something like that, but he doesn't even know if that's going to allow him, or they're going to allow him to utilize that in the entrance exam. But still, he's going to have to bite the bullet and figure it out as he goes. And one day, while they're sitting in class, they all begin to hear the teacher speak about doing a career aptitude test. But of course, he throws all the papers in the air and says that he knows they all want to become heroes. Now, this is when everything begins to change, because the teacher informs everyone that both Bakugo and also Deku, or Izuku, wants to actually try out for UA. Now, a lot of people do begin to make fun of Izuku, being that he can't hurt them while they're currently in class, and Bakugo even joins in, saying that there's no way he's going to get into UA, and so on and so forth. He tells them that of course he will, especially if he can beat down people like them, but of course they retaliate with that he doesn't have a quirk and that he's not going to be allowed in because of that specifically. Izuku shakes it off and begins to think that he can do it, that he could be one of the first, if not the first person to get into UA without a solid quirk, and that he's going to figure out the hurdle that he needs to jump through to get exactly there. Now, after class is when things are kind of quiet for Izuku. Nobody messes with Izuku, like, at all, because they know what's going to happen, and they're going to get that three-piece combo straight to their face. So they decide, okay, we're not going to mess with Izuku or anything like that, and that includes with Bakugo. Bakugo would make fun of him from before, but physical conflict is not something that Bakugo will do. Now, he does continue to write in his journal, and as he heads home, taking the long way, going underneath a bridge, he would hear something underneath him. But it's odd. He hears it from what he feels to be so far away. This gives him the chance to actually run a little bit further, and this allows him to actually not be that far into or under the bridge when a large, like, goop monster comes barreling out, that being the sludge villain. The sludge villain would then yell to Izuku, saying that he needs his body, but Izuku's able to get away relatively quickly, going to the edge of the bridge or the opposite side, and as the sludge villain chases him, Izuku continues backing up, looking for anything around him that he can throw at the villain, maybe hitting him in the eye of some sorts. He does find a steel pipe nearby, and he throws it at the villain, smacking him in the eye, but the sludge villain kind of just shakes it off. It does hurt him a little bit, but he shakes it off. Now, the sludge villain continues to barrel toward Izuku, and Izuku would then hear someone in the distance, and he would hear a phrase that seemed so familiar, that is, Detroit Smash, as the sludge villain would absolutely obliterate in front of him, slamming himself also into the wall. He would wake up about maybe 30 seconds later with a All Might that is smacking him in the face, very lightly, but smacking him in the face. And he would be shocked to see that it's literally All Might. Like, this is insane. He would look at All Might and tell him that he's his biggest fan and can he sign his journal, but All Might's already signed the journal. But All Might would quickly gather up all the goop and gather up the sludge villain and prepare himself to leave. But Izuku wouldn't want him to leave. He would want to actually grab onto All Might's leg and they would take off together. All Might would say that he needs to get off of him now, but Izuku says that he'll die if he falls now. So All Might would land on a nearby villain, letting him off and telling him that he needs to go. But Izuku tells him that he needs to ask him a question and it's very important. And All Might says that, fine, ask him then. And as he's about to ask, All Might would actually go into a Small Might form, and this would shock Izuku, and the whole panic scene would happen, where he thinks that this isn't even All Might, but it is All Might. And All Might explains just briefly who he is, and basically that he is All Might, and that he has some trouble with maintaining that giant form, and he's not as young as he used to be. And with that said, he'd then ask the question, or Izuku would then ask the question, that can someone who is quirkless actually become a hero? In which All Might would tell him no, that he could do so many other things if he chose to do so, doctor, lawyer, whatever, but being a hero, it just doesn't make sense. Izuku would be shocked, so shocked that he can't even further explain his current capabilities. And All Might would wonder to himself, how does a quirkless kid actually survive as long as he did, or even react to the sludge villain as quick as he did, if he's just, well, quirkless, if he's just a normal guy? How was he able to do that? But before he could even really think too much about it, Izuku would be kind of upset about this, and then watch as All Might would jump off, trying to imprison the sludge villain or take the sludge villain away. But what they wouldn't know or understand is that the sludge villain actually got out, being released, and is currently setting and plotting to actually wreak havoc very, very soon. Izuku would head down with the aid of a random person who would let him down the staircase of the building, and as he continues home and walks home, he's saddened by the reality that his number one hero, the hero that he looks up to so much, has just told him that he cannot be the hero that he wants to be. He cannot be like All Might, and frankly, he can't be a hero at all. And this would break Izuku, making him extremely sad and make him extremely upset. But the motivation would creep quickly back in, because Izuku's motivation is extremely high. Like, he's not going to let this deter him, and is not going to stop him from doing what he needs to do or what he feels is necessary. And he would actually get his chance to prove the type of hero he is extremely soon. And by extremely soon, I mean absolutely right now. Because Izuku comes across something he's never thought he would see. Izuku comes across the sludge villain once again. He never thought he would actually see this villain again, especially after seeing him that very one time in that tunnel. And soon, well, he would realize why that sludge villain is there, because of him. The sludge villain was able to get away because he hitched a ride on All Might's leg, and he realizes very quickly that this right here is all his fault. And now that is something that he doesn't want to, well, just flat out live with, so he's going to make sure that whoever is actually being injured or is captive within the sludge villain currently, well, they'll know him as a hero, because Izuku's body would begin to move, because he sees the one person he never expected to be in trouble. The one person that's bullied him his entire life, but the one person he believes is still truly one of his best friends, and the one he calls Kachan. Katsuki Bakugo is stuck within the sludge villain currently, and Izuku Midoriya would begin charging forward. He would charge forward at it as fast as possible, grabbing his bag and throwing it at the eye of the sludge villain, taking a couple pencils and jabbing them into his eyes as he dives into the sludge villain head first. Bakugo watches all of this occur, and Izuku is able to get Bakugo out of the sludge villain just briefly. And when I say briefly, I mean briefly, because Bakugo gets out and is replaced by Izuku. Izuku is then stuck, and he gets his leg stuck within the sludge villain, and the sludge villain begins to drag him off. But quickly Bakugo would grab him by the arm, trying to yank him out. And he does just momentarily, but the sludge villain consumes both of Izuku's legs once again. Bakugo would send an explosion at the monster, and Izuku would look out to see that the heroes haven't even moved an inch. And the fact is, they are on their own. There is no way that the other heroes can help, and there is no All Might here to save them. Izuku would feel a rush, and an absolute rush, of just this determination. But not just pure determination, he would feel that he would be, or would die, if he doesn't become useful. He needs to prove to himself and to everyone else that he is no longer a Deku. He is no longer Deku, the one that needs saving, the one that is useless. He is so much more than just that. His body would feel a rush of adrenaline, and his body would feel like it's at an all-time high. It's an odd feeling for Izuku, because his body has never felt like this ever in his entire life. He's never felt something or this rush in his entire life. It felt like his body has literally leveled up, or has kind of grown in a matter of a split second. It's as if this crisis event is now changing him. And well, that's exactly what's happening. This crisis event has changed Izuku, and he would quickly begin to scream. But this is not a scream of terror. This is not a scream of pain. This is a scream for him to get his arm loose and slam a punch directly into the sludge villain, exploding half of the sludge villain's body into pieces. Izuku would get released, and there's somebody currently watching, and watching very closely. Izuku would turn back around toward the sludge villain as he's released from the sludge villain's grasp, and he would land one more punch at full strength, sending a shockwave toward the sludge villain, and the shockwave would obliterate the other half of the sludge villain, defeating him, or at least splattering him in different directions. Quickly, the other heroes would join in to gather the sludge villain, and Bakugo would be praised for how he survived. Izuku, though, on the other hand, there would be mixed emotions. Many would tell him that that was reckless, that he shouldn't have done that, and some would say that he had the courage of he had some of the best courage and strength he's ever seen, or they've ever seen, and some would even say to the point that, well, he was even more fearless than actual heroes. Now, this would shock Bakugo, the fact that Izuku would run in and sacrifice himself, and now that he has awakened a power that nobody even understands or will ever understand, well, he doesn't even know how to feel. Bakugo himself would try to find Izuku, but Izuku would actually be gone quicker than you could imagine, not wanting to deal with anything else that is involving the media and other people, and frankly being lectured by other heroes, which would most likely just annoy him, because at the end of the day, he doesn't want to deal with all of it when he just felt like he made the right choice, and he made the right choice to help someone that he, well, lightly cared about, you could say, or cared about to an extent. Now, he would leave and try to go home, but quickly he would be intercepted by the one and only All Might. All Might would immediately tell him that that was extremely impressive, and that maybe he was way too hard on him. I mean, he never even got to see what the kid was capable of, even though he doesn't have a quirk, but still, someone that can just charge into the feat of battle, not worrying about themselves, not worrying about actually dying themselves is something that is extremely commendable. Someone that acts before even thinking, someone that is willing to risk their own lives or their own life for the well-being of others is what a true hero really is. And he says that even without a quirk, he's something special. And he tells Izuku, or asks Izuku more specifically, what was he able to do? Like, how is he able to do that? And Izuku says that he has no idea. That it's as if he just awakened this dormant power that was within him. As if he was already kind of physically gifted, at least to an extent, but then out of nowhere, his gifts were amplified by 100, maybe even more, and maybe even to the level of someone like him. But All Might would think that maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but of course Izuku says that he doesn't know for sure, but it felt as if his body was on cloud 9, but he doesn't know right now. Everything's kind of calmed down within him, and he feels like there's nothing like, too out of the ordinary anymore. And All Might would say that there's only one way to actually see what's going on or see if anything has really changed, and that's to punch him. In which Izuku says that's psychotic. He's not punching All Might. That's insane. And All Might says that he can quickly enter his giant form or his big form, and more or less he'll be able to withstand the blow. And Izuku says that if he's sure that he can do it, but do you really think that this is a good idea? And All Might would say, yeah, why not? As he turns into his big might form, or his actual All Might form, and Izuku would lay a punch on his chest. As he does, this would send All Might flying backwards throughout the neighborhood. Luckily not through buildings, because that would really suck, but just straight down the street. All Might would get himself to stop, but would ruin quite a bit of concrete, and he would immediately go back into his small might form, realizing quickly that this kid has a gifted ability of strength. But it seems like it's more than just that. It might be the fact that he has high levels of durability, strength, speed, maybe even the ability to kind of pick up and learn things extremely quickly. I mean, the kid seems to be some sort of a prodigy. I mean, how did they not pick up on this? And he would ask all these questions to Izuku as well. And Izuku would say that the doctors didn't think he was a prodigy at all. I mean, his body or his genetics or his bone density seemed a little bit abnormal, but other than that, it didn't seem anything too crazy. It was just maybe a better genetically built human being, and that was about it. But he still lacked a quirk. But of course, this would kind of make All Might think that Izuku is different. That Izuku is so much more than just a normal person without a quirk. I mean, he's definitely awakened a power that no other human being has awakened ever. If not, this might be a new evolution of what quirks could truly be. But he does offer something to Izuku, and that would be to be his successor. Now, Izuku would be confused about what this even means, and he would tell Izuku, or All Might would tell Izuku, that he can have his quirk. And now this would shock Izuku to his core. His quirk, that's insane. Like, you can't transfer quirks. But All Might would explain exactly what One for All is, and also why he would want Izuku to be his successor. But quickly, Izuku would deny the fact that he wants to be necessarily All Might's successor. He not only believes that he doesn't necessarily deserve it, that he hasn't shown enough, but he also thinks to himself that whatever this gift has, or whatever this gift was, whatever this power is that is or was dormant within him, he doesn't want to revoke it. He feels as if taking on a quirk would be like disrespecting the gift that he was truly given, and disrespecting the gift that has now allowed him to save his friend and also save himself from a very, very, very scary villain. So he doesn't want to give away or take away from what not having a quirk has truly meant to him. All Might would hear this and would think that the logic makes sense, and he would hear the kid out, and he would say that he understands and gets it, and he wishes that Izuku would take his quirk, but if he doesn't want to, that's completely fine. But as a thanks to Izuku, or at least maybe a tome of forgiveness, he would like to train Izuku. Maybe he doesn't want to be necessarily his successor in the eyes of having one for all, but he could at least train Izuku to his best ability and actually help him gain greater strength and also gain greater abilities. Maybe even help him learn what this power he has truly is, and also will prepare him for the UA entrance exam. Izuku thinks this is perfect. This is a great thing, and he would love to train with someone like All Might because there's obviously a ton for him to learn. But he does ask All Might, I mean, who's going to be his successor? I mean, like, who could it truly be? And All Might says that he's not sure. He's really not, but he'll have to think about it for a little bit because there are some good candidates, but he worries. He worries about kind of the effect that this could have on someone else, and this effect, or how it could affect others as well, just being that of a person. In which Izuku would question what does he mean by that, and All Might just says that it was extremely hard for him to learn how to use One for All as a person and as a young kid, and that he didn't have a quirk himself. And immediately Izuku would cut him off. You didn't have a quirk yourself? And All Might would confirm, yeah, he didn't have a quirk. In which Izuku would think about it for a second, but would then tell All Might that it seems kind of odd that he didn't have a quirk and someone was able to just give it to him. Is that why he was going to give it to, well, Izuku or himself? In which All Might says not necessarily, but maybe it is better for someone to have it that doesn't have a quirk, as if you're starting fresh, as if your body is neutral and not over heavily stimulated by a different other quirk. In which Izuku agrees with, thinking that actually might be the case and might be something to think about, because being worthy but also having another quirk at the same time might be kind of a hard thing. And All Might would agree. He would say that he basically does know someone else that could take on the quirk, and he is definitely worthy. I mean, he's very powerful, but it might affect him. It actually might affect his other quirk, but this is something that All Might hasn't even looked into or even thought too much about, so he'll have to ask his ex-sidekick about it, probably in the near future. But he obviously doesn't tell Izuku any of that, because that's kind of not necessarily his business, or not that deep into his business. Now, he would eventually say goodbye to the young lad, being that All Might would say goodbye to Izuku eventually, telling him to meet him at Dagobah Beach in a couple days. And that's when they'll start their training, and they'll just get him ready for the UA entrance exam. Now, about 10 months of this would go by. I mean, he would begin to train with All Might, even spar him a little bit, and he would learn to actually harness his own strength. It's as if Izuku is completely juiced up. Like, his whole body is way stronger. His abilities are way stronger. He's able to move faster, punch harder, and everything. And when I mean harder, faster, and all of those things, it's so much more insane. Like, it's actually way beyond what he was ever able to do. He even begins to train with different weaponry, actually picking up on swordsmanship and other weapons as well extremely quickly, and utilizing them to a very, very high potential. Izuku really believes that all of this preparation will be extremely worth it when he takes on the UA entrance exam. And he continues to stay up with his studies because, well, that's something that he'll need to do, especially with UA coming around the corner. And also the UA entrance exam also has a full-on written exam. So he makes sure that he stays on top of all of it. And with making sure that his exams and also his studies are up to par, and hopefully he's going to be prepared for that written exam. Now, the day of the UA entrance exam would finally be upon him, and All Might would wish him good luck, but he would say that he probably doesn't need it. I mean, the training and his awakened power, all of that is going to help him massively, and he should take home maybe even the #1 student in the entrance exam. And All Might would basically tell him to shoot for that he should shoot immediately for the stars, because that's the type of stuff he can truly do. At least that's what it seems like, with all the powers and with all his strength and all of his capabilities. It's showing that he could truly get further than anybody can possibly imagine. And Izuku takes that to heart, because he takes on the UA entrance exam, and the written part of it is easy peasy. It's nothing, no sweat. It's nothing crazy. I mean, he would score pretty decently on it, but what everybody was, or what he was afraid of necessarily, or to a large extent, was the practical exam. And the robots were all true. He has to take on robots, 1-pointers, 2-pointers, 3-pointers. There is a 0-pointer, but it's not worth anything, so there's no point of actually fighting it. And Izuku keeps that in mind as well. Now, he begins fighting these robots, and he quickly realizes that he's able to shatter through them very easily. From the 1 points to the 2 points to the 3 points, every last one of them. But he does think to himself that if he didn't have this awakening, he definitely would not have been able to actually take down the robots that he is currently absolutely obliterating. Like, there's no way that he would have been able to do the things he's currently doing at his old strength. But luckily enough, he's not at his old strength, so he doesn't have to worry about that at all. Now, quickly he would realize that he is absolutely killing this exam. I mean, this thing is practically over, and he doesn't have any challenges, nothing. Everything seems very easy, very simple, and so on. But soon the 0-point robot would begin to reveal its face, because the 0-point robot is a giant robot, as tall as the buildings that are currently in this fake city. Now, initially, Izuku was just going to kind of walk away. I mean, there's no reason to fight the thing. It's worth 0 points, but he would then hear the screams of a girl. He would look around and then see that the girl is trapped under a piece of metal. He runs over and just kicks it off of her and picks her up and begins to move her out of the way. And the 0-point robot would be trailing him pretty quickly, but it's not like he's really in any danger. I mean, he's able to grab the girl and get out pretty damn easily, especially because overall, he's able to hear a little bit better, see better, and also his speed and strength is just extremely high. So he's able to just run over there, save her, and drag her away, and save her from the 0-point robot. And luckily enough, as the 0-point robot continues to stalk them down, he would then be stopped entirely because, well, they got the sirens go off and the UA entrance exam is actually over. And this would excite Izuku because he does feel like he 1000% passed this exam. He doesn't know if he got to the level that All Might wanted him to get to, but he knows for sure he passed the exam. Now, what he doesn't know is that he's also going to get extra points for saving the girl that was trapped under the rubble, and the girl herself is actually thanking Izuku entirely as the nurse that comes out, or who we know as Recovery Girl, actually comes out and helps Ochako Uraraka. In which that's when Izuku would learn that that's who she is. I mean, he did see her briefly when he was walking in and actually talked to her kind of mildly while they're walking in, but it was kind of just super casual and he was just trying to get into the exam hall. And she would thank him profusely, but he would say that it's truly no problem, that is what a hero would have done. And he just says that he's glad that she's okay and not, well, squished like a pancake. He would then wave her off and walk away. And let's just say there's many, many, many people, teachers, and even the principal of UA, and that includes also All Might, currently watching, and they are impressed. Everybody is extremely impressed. I mean, Izuku has shown aspects of himself that are very similar to All Might. Very similar. As if he has maybe the strength and speed of All Might possibly, or at least he shows capabilities similar to All Might, at least bare minimum All Might at a young age. Now, this seems insane, but everybody is extremely psyched up about having a prospect like him but Izuku doesn't even understand how much of a landslide this truly was. He was so much better than everyone else that it wasn't even close. But of course, being the humble person he is, he has no idea. But that's kind of beyond the point. Izuku Midoriya would head home and he would wait for his letter from UA High School, the letter that will change his life forever. And I think that he will be pleasantly surprised when that letter arrives. But for now, that is the end of part 1 of What If Deku Had Toji's Heavenly Restriction. And if you enjoyed part 1, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. If you want to see part 2 ASAP, make sure to blow the video up. Make sure to show a ton of love. I appreciate all the support, guys. I appreciate all the love and support that I get from y'all. And if you want to see more videos like this, please show support. It will make it so that I know, and or at least I know that you're liking the content and that I should obviously do more. And yeah, with that said, like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.